This is D-Day India. You are watching Defense Dynamics and I am Danveer Singh connecting to our viewers from New Delhi. Lot has been happening around the world in defense and related dynamics. In war with Russia, Ukraine has fired ATACMS. What are they and why the use of these missiles risk escalation? We'll tell that. Here in the subcontinent, India has successfully conducted a flight trial of its long-range hypersonic missile. With this achievement, India has joined a select group of nations. Why is that so? Comes up ahead. Also, the great success story of India's Pinaka weapon system, which is making headlines all across as France and Armenia line up to buy these rockets. We tell you that, but also update you on why the recently tested extended range of guided version of Pinaka challenges its rivals. On the other side of the globe, it is China's Chancay port in Peru that has discomforted geostrategists in the United States. So we ask, is it trade or something else? We'll try and decode that for you. We'll also inform you about Indian Army's high-intensity tri-services exercise Purvi Prahar and what that means in plain and simple terms. For the first time, Ukraine has fired US-supplied long-range missiles at a target inside the Russian territory. Until now, Washington had refused to allow such strikes on Russian territory with ATACMS missiles because it feared it could escalate the war. But in past few days, US has changed its stance. Here is what we know about ATACMS missile system. Ukraine used the US-made missiles to target a military facility in Russia's Bryansk border region overnight. This comes just days after Washington gave the green light to Kyiv to use long-range weapons against Russian targets. The reported use of the Army Tactical Missile System, also known as ATACMS, came as Russian President Vladimir Putin formally lowered the threshold for using nuclear weapons, thus opening the door to a potential nuclear response by Moscow to even a conventional attack by any nation supported by a nuclear power. Zelensky said, Kyiv now has US ATACMS systems as well as its own long-range capabilities and would use all of them against the aggressor. Russia has long asserted that ATACMS is programmed by United States specialists and requires guidance from the US satellites. The Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, speaking at G20 news conference in Brazil, said, "This is of course a signal that they want to escalate." He added, accusing Washington of helping Kyiv operate these missiles. He further added, "We'll be taking this as a qualitative new phase of Western war against Russia. We will react accordingly." ATACMS is a long-range guided missile that gives commanders the immediate firepower to shape the battle space. Each ATACMS missile is packaged in a look-alike MLRS launch pod and fired from the MLRS family of launchers or the multi-launched rocket system. The ATACMS specifics include improved guidance package with global positioning system. They carry a WDU-18 500-pound class blast fragmentation warhead and have a maximum range of 300 kilometers and beyond. The Army Tactical Missile System is a conventional surface-to-surface artillery weapon system capable of striking targets beyond the range of existing Army cannons, rockets and other missiles. ATACMS missiles are fired from Himars and MLRS M270 platforms. With the help of this map, I'll just try and explain that why these ATACMS are going to create further tensions in this whole of the region. This is Ukraine. This area shaded is the area that has been occupied by Russian forces. This red line shows the range the ATACMS can target within the Russian territory, and these black boxes are the bases in Russia that are under threat. And what has happened
when the Ukrainians attacked Russians, it was this area of Bryansk which was attacked. This came under attack. So now the dynamics of this whole war has changed. Previously, Americans allowed the Ukrainians to fire ATACMS only in this area which is shown shaded, but now they have allowed them to cross the border and target the Russian bases in the Russian territory. Now moving on to the Indian weapon system that is challenging Himars is the Pinak. It is being said that high cost of Himars has prompted France to consider alternatives. The sale of 22 Himars unit to Australia in August 24, which was valued at $1 billion US. So is it the cost factor or Pinak's capability, or are they the both? Well, we will get to that, but first let's get a sense of what this weapon system is all about. Take a look.
The Pinak rocket system is one of the Indian Army's most devastating fire support system in service since the Kargil War of 1999. However, the precision and long range has now made it even more highly deadly and destructive. This comes by as Pinak weapon system was recently flight tested for high accuracy at ranges beyond 60 kilometers in the month of November of 2024. The Pakistani Army witnessed firsthand the havoc created in their rank and file by the Pinak multi-barrel rocket launcher MBRL during the Kargil War of 1999. This deadly system was still under development when the call came for action. What best a situation it could be to test itself in an intense battlefield environment. The Pinak came out with flying colors, ticking all the right boxes, and gathered great appreciation by user at tactical as well as the operational level. Impressed, the Indian Army decided to replace its Soviet-era MBRLs, the venerable DRDO BM-21, with an indigenous MBRL. The result is the Pinak. The Pinak MBRL consists of 18 launchers, each of which fires at the enemy from 12 launcher tubes. Firing in rapid succession, these 216 launcher tubes can rain down 7 tons of high explosive in just 44 seconds on a target which is 60 kilometers away, thus catching the enemy troop in open without giving them time to take cover, meaning total annihilation. The Pinak MBRL, named after the legendary bow of Lord Shiva, just takes 3 minutes to come into and out of action. The Pinak project has been successfully led by 2 DRDO laboratories in Pune, Armament Research and Development Establishment, the ARDE, and High Energy Materials Research Laboratory, the HEMRL. They worked in partnership with 2 private sector firms, the Larsen & Toubro and Tata Power Company Limited. Built on a rugged 8x8 Tatra vehicle, the early Pinak Mark I had a range of only 37.5 kilometers and limited accuracy of about 500 meters. In 2016, after Army demanded better performance, ARDE added a guidance kit to each individual rocket under the enhanced Pinak project. The enhanced Pinak had demonstrated a range of 75 kilometers and the ability to strike within 10 meters of its target. This allows Pinak battery to destroy a terrorist camp, enemy post, logistic dumps or headquarters without having to send soldiers across the border. From 2006 to 2010, L&T and Tata Power built and delivered Army's first 2 Pinak regiments. In 2016, the Ministry of Defence contracted for Army's 3rd and 4th regiments. In August of 2020, a 3rd order was placed for 6 regiments, which will increase Army's Pinak's inventory to 10 units. These will be equipped with Pinaka-ER rockets currently being tested. Following these 10 Pinak regiments, there will be 12 new units of longer-range Pinak Mark II multi-launch rocket systems, or the MLRS, for which the MOD had signed a Rs 2,580 crore contract way back in August of 2020. The total cost of 22 Pinak regiments will add up to an amount of Rs 21,000 crore rupees. The India's Defence Research Organization, the DRDO, has said that each Pinak Mark II rocket will be guided individually to its target by its own inertial navigation system. An onboard computer will monitor rocket's flight path and send a path correction message through a radio link every 20 microseconds. Based on that, the rocket will correct its flight path using thrust vectors, that is, gases emitted from the propulsion system through the nozzles.
France's interest in India's indigenous Pinak multiple rocket launcher system has stirred significant attention. While this might have surprised many, but those closely monitoring the French defense landscape know that this interest began as early as 2022 and deepens as Ukraine-Russia war continues to rage on. If that be so, then why US Himars is losing out of favor with this NATO member? The cost apart, let's compare the two systems on capability index. India's multi-barrel rocket launcher Pinak, the name has been derived out of mythology, that is Lord Shiva's bow. Now this weapon system is creating ripples. It is making headlines in the West because France is interested in these weapons, and what it is overshadowing is the American Himars. Himars stands for High Mobility Artillery Rocket System. So these are the rocket systems that Pinak is overshadowing, and people in the West are getting interested. Now let's compare Pinak with Himars. To begin with, the caliber. Caliber of Pinak is 214 millimeters, while that of Himars is 227 millimeters. The range that Pinak can achieve is from 75 to 300 in extended range mode, while that of Himars is from 70 to 499 in extended range mode. Firing capacity, when we talk of, Pinak can fire up to 12 rockets in one launch, while Himars can fire 6 rockets in one launch or through one launcher. The payload that Pinak carries, that is the warhead, is about 100 kgs, and that of Himars, it can vary from 90 kgs to different categories depending on the requirement. As far as guidance system is concerned, Pinak weapon system uses the inertial guidance system, which means that it cannot be jammed, while that of Himars, it is advanced global positioning system, which means you require satellites and they are vulnerable for jamming. Now let's compare the prices of these two rocket systems. When we talk of the price of a single rocket, Pinak costs around $56,000, and that of the United States, that is Himars, it costs around $222,000. When we talk of the complete system, that is the launcher and the whole of the system, Pinak costs around $280,000, and that of Himars cost is over 50 lakh US dollars. Chinese leader Xi Jinping and Peruvian President Dina Boluarte inaugurated a huge port in Peruvian city of Chancay on November 7th of 24. This infrastructure project is expected to attract up to 3.6 billion US dollars in investment and will create a direct route from China across the Pacific Ocean to the South Americas. However, in American strategic circle, there is a huge concern. Notwithstanding the American fears, these American concerns did not resonate in Peru. Here is the why.
The port opening, which came ahead of the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum and Xi's final meeting with the President of United States, Joe Biden, underscores China's growing clout in a region that once looked primarily to the United States for economic opportunity. Xi Jinping wrote in an editorial published in the El Peruano newspaper right ahead of his arrival for inaugurating the port. The level of Chinese interest and involvement in Chancay has drawn warnings from United States about Peru potentially being used by the Chinese military ships as a foothold in the Americas. General Laura J. Richardson, the recently retired former head of US Southern Command, said in a recent interview with the Financial Times that Chancay absolutely could host Chinese Navy warships following a playbook that we have seen play out in other places. Beijing has denied the project is motivated by anything other than the commercial interests. Reinberg, director of the Americas program at Center of Strategic and International Studies, a think tank, said that, quote, "The Chinese are not necessarily interested in a grand display and stationing a warship there, but they like to know it's an option." Even without potential military use, the port highlights the continent's increasingly strong ties with China. Chinese interests in Latin America are fast evolving beyond mining and other extractive industries to include agreements to provide surveillance technology and ground stations for Chinese satellites. But the American concerns about the port being used by Chinese military haven't resonated in Peru, which has welcomed the prospect of high-tech hub attracting investments in the region, said Leolino Dorado, a researcher affiliated with Center for China and Asia Pacific Studies at Lima. Latin America and Global South in general wants to sell their products to whoever they can, so this sort of fear-mongering is unlikely to work, unquote. The Chinese researchers have said route will cut costs and shorten sales time by 10 to 20 days, attracting business from other hubs in the region.
In this segment, we'll talk about missiles. India tests two different types of missiles in a week, putting India's defense in a different league. One is a cruise missile. Some call it India's parallel to US Tomahawk missile, and other is the hypersonic missile. Globally, Russia and China lead the hypersonic missile development, with the United States also making significant investment in such technologies. Countries like France, Germany, Australia, Japan, Iran, and Israel are also engaged in advancing their hypersonic capabilities. With this successful test, India joins the elite group of nations.
India has successfully conducted a flight trial of its long-range hypersonic missile, marking a significant boost to country's military readiness. India's Defence Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh, after the test, said, "This is a historic moment, and this significant achievement has put our country in the group of select nations having capabilities of such critical and advanced military technologies." Mr. Rajnath Singh tweeted this on X. This missile is designed to carry various payloads for ranges greater than 1500 kilometers for the armed forces. With this achievement, India has joined a select group of nations possessing such critical and advanced military technologies. This missile has been indigenously developed by laboratories of the Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Missile Complex in Hyderabad in collaboration with other DRDO laboratories and industry partners. The flight trial was conducted in presence of senior DRDO scientists and members of the armed forces. Hypersonic missiles are weapons capable of traveling at speeds 5 times the speed of sound. Their speed typically varies between 6,125 km per hour, that is Mach 5, to about 24,140 km per hour, that is Mach 20. These speeds can make them incredibly difficult to detect and intercept. There are two primary types of hypersonic missiles: the hypersonic glide vehicles and hypersonic cruise missiles. Hypersonic glide vehicles are launched like ballistic missiles using a rocket booster. After reaching a certain altitude, the hypersonic glide vehicle separates from the booster and glides towards its target, maneuvering in flight to avoid interception. Hypersonic cruise missiles use scramjet engines to sustain hypersonic speed throughout their flight, flying at lower altitudes and also possessing maneuverability. The development of hypersonic missiles is a significant achievement for India as it presents several challenges including extreme heat generation, precise control and guidance systems, detection and tracking difficulties, and the need for effective interception systems. Hypersonic missiles have the potential to revolutionize warfare due to their speed, maneuverability, and range. They could significantly reduce response time and make traditional missile defense ineffective.
India's Defence Research and Development Organization, the DRDO, conducted its maiden flight test of long-range land attack cruise missile on November 12, 2024. This indigenously developed missile during the test demonstrated maneuverability at various altitudes and speed. The long-range cruise missile is an improved version of the Nirbhaya cruise missile. Nirbhaya project was wrapped up in year 2023, paving way for Indigenous Technology Cruise Missile or the ITCM project, a demonstrator project featuring domestically developed turbofan engine called Mach. The long-range land attack cruise missile sprung from this ITCM project, incorporating several technologies from the latter, including the Mach engine. This recently tested cruise missile can be launched from both land and sea platforms and has a reported range of over 1,000 kilometers. This precision missile is likely to be deployed for high-value targets deep inside the enemy territory, such as command and control nodes and weapon depots. Around 20 additional flight trials of missile are reportedly planned before it enters production. On India's strategic eastern theatre, the Indian Armed Forces conducted a high-intensity tri-services exercise Purvi Prahar from 10th to 18th of November 2024. This happened in forward areas of Arunachal Pradesh. This joint exercise aimed at honing the combat effectiveness of the Indian Army, Navy and the Air Force in executing integrated joint operations in challenging mountainous terrain of this region. According to Indian Army, this exercise brought together a wide spectrum of cutting-edge military platforms and systems, showcasing countries' advancement in modern warfare technology during the exercise. According to Indian Army, the exercise brought together a wide spectrum of cutting-edge military platforms and systems, showcasing countries' advancements in modern warfare technology during this exercise, which was integration of innovative technologies that are reshaping the future military operations worldwide. Troops operated and refined skills with swarm drones, loitering ammunition, and cutting-edge technologies that enhance situational awareness, precision strikes, and operational flexibility. With Purvi Prahar, the Indian Armed Forces are enhancing their ability to execute seamless multi-domain operations across land, air, and sea, reinforcing India's strategic deterrence capabilities. The lessons out of this exercise will help draw out seamless tri-services operational management environment for various roles envisaged in theaterization of the Indian Armed Forces. With this, we come to the end of this episode, but before I go, here is my take. Chancay port in Latin America positions China to streamline maritime logistics, reduce reliance on existing US-aligned trade routes, and exert influence over Pacific shipping lanes, thus challenging US influence in the Western Hemisphere. While Chancay is officially a commercial venture, the infrastructure could theoretically support naval operations, giving China a foothold in the Pacific. In short, Chancay Port project exemplifies China's ability to translate its economic ambition into geopolitical leverages. It underscores increasing competition between China and the United States for influencing critical global regions such as Latin America. While it promises economic benefits for Peru and the region, it is also raising questions about sovereignty, dependency, and other broader geostrategic balance of power in the whole of Pacific region. See you next week with new stories and their analysis. Thanks for watching, and do post your comments on social media with hashtag DD with Danveer. Goodbye and take care.